Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Rovers Report and the first instalment of A View from the Opposition, the series where we get a fan from the opposition team and hopefully they give us a bit of insight into, what we'll be facing on the weekend. I'm delighted to say, the first edition, we are joined by Hugh from the PO4cast. And first of all, mate, thank you very much for coming on. And I guess the first question for you is, how have you found the 6 to 7 weeks without football? And are you excited to be back?
Cheers, having us on again, Fred. It's nice to be back. Start of the season. I know we did this last year as well.
Yeah,
So
about similar sort of time,
I've
wasn't
got
it? Last year?
I've got to set a bar now, since I'm
Yeah.
the first one. So I'll try and set it incredibly low to make everyone else's life easier who comes on your show. But have I found it? It's all right, to be honest. We've done some sporadic episodes throughout the summer, but just gearing up some competitive football now.
Yeah,
It's looking quite exciting and just want to get going, really.
yeah, exactly, mate. I echo those sentiments, man. It's just nice to have a bit of time off, isn't it? But quickly you sort of wish for it to roll around, and now we're here, and it's only a couple of days away. I guess if we can start off then, mate. Obviously, you guys finished just outside the playoffs last year. You obviously changed your manager in January, and this is Mousinho's first pre-season. So just as a sort of a summary of how you found pre-season. You can touch on results. I think we'll talk about signings a bit later, but just in general, how have Portsmouth fans viewed this pre-season?
Try not to put too much weight, don't you, into pre-season. And I was telling myself that when I was away watching us lose to Wimbledon, who were obviously in League Two,
Yeah.
1-0. But it's been a pretty okay, so I suppose, plodding along on a pre-season. The team went out to Spain to play the Gibraltar side, Europa FC. So we
Hmm.
had quite an early camp out there. We're out there for a while. It was quite good because you got quite a lot of the players in early.
Mm.
So that meant the team had a bit more time to gel. And because we brought in 12 new players, and we'll come on to that a bit later, as you said, I think it's more about us, our players working with each other and trying to see how we're going to work together, getting used to each other, that sort of thing. I think results wise, I mean, we played Bognor Regis, drew 1-1, went to Gosport, another local side, 1-3-1, one away at Havant, and then recently we just lost to Bristol City at
Hmm.
home 1-0. But those results don't really mean too much from my perspective. It's more
Yeah.
about the performances, and it's about looking at the squad we've got, looking at how the tactics are evolving, because they are, and seeing how that's going to make us fair at the end of the season this year.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's always nice to win a couple of those pre-season games, but like you said, it's about the chemistry, the players building sort of bonds with each other, and like you said, the manager sort of implementing his style. But yeah, I guess let's move on to those signings then. I think personally for me, you guys have probably had one of the best windows, certainly in League One, if not in the EFL. Particular signings for me that stick out, is Regan Poole, and then obviously Gavin White, who we were actually interested in. From your opinion, how have you? Are you happy with the sort of the business that you've done? And is there any particular signings that stick out for you?
I think to understand our window and how well it's done, just to dial back to the fact that at the end of last season, John Mousinho comes in, as you said, around the January transfer window, and effectively he sort of comes in and wants to play sort of a 4-3-3 system, lining up. And basically, we didn't really have any wingers who could score or assist. So poor Colby Bishop's up there, lugging away on his own, scoring 20 plus
Yeah.
goals. No one else was chipping in. I think it was only maybe the last game this season or near that where, our I think it was our left back Conor Ogilvie was actually second at the time in scoring with like 5. I
So
think
yeah,
Joe
that is
Piggott picked him with 6. So it really showed that although we did quite well last season, our lack of goal scoring and our lack of assists as well was quite worrying, really.
it. Mhm.
So we did that to go out to the transfer window, I suppose, and we looked at how we're going to fix that. And because Mousinho wants us to still play this 4-3-3, and what he's done is he's gone out, and you mentioned Gavin White. We had to get some sort of quite goal scoring style, I suppose, attacking wingers. So
Mm.
Gavin White's got that ability. I think he got 10 assists as well one season when he played before Oxford. So you got him on one side. You got Anthony Scully, we went out to go and get as well for Lincoln City. He got 15 goals, 10 assists as well, before for Lincoln. What we've tried to do is go and get players who maybe haven't like set the world on fire the season before. So you look at Anthony Scully, he went to Wigan into the Championship, picked up, he had like a hernia injury which sort of niggled at him all last season. Didn't
Yeah.
really do much, didn't feature much, but the season before did really well for Lincoln. So you look at that and the scouting team have been like, okay, there's a player there that we could potentially bring in and be sort of a top level League One player. Same with Gavin White, again, at Cardiff, and that's sort of thing. Both of those guys have the ability to do stuff that we couldn't necessarily do last season, the likes of Owen Dale, etc. He just didn't do well enough. So I think we've gone for that system there up front where we've got inverted wingers who play quite tight to Colby Bishop. So they're going to play quite narrow and try and provide Bishop with a bit more of a goal attacking threat. And then to add that width, what we've done is we already had two quite forward-thinking right backs. And now we've gone out and gone Jack Sparks as well from Exeter, who's a left back who likes to get forward as well. Now, suddenly we've got wing backs to a certain level. They're not wing backs, but they're full backs who will get forwards. One of the centre midfielders from the three will drop in to cover them. And that will just allow the three at the front just to be a bit narrower. And hopefully that helps to spread the goals out a bit better.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds like, your manager and the coaching team have obviously identified areas that, you had a potential weakness in last year, you wanted to upgrade on. And it sounds like you've gone out and done that. Has there been any sort of key departures from your squad, or is it just been sort of building on what you had from last year?
I mean, key departures, what we have done is we've gone out, we got rid of some of the players, I suppose, who weren't performing to a certain level, but still key players, So Clark Robertson's gone. He's gone to play for an Israeli side. Can't remember exactly who off the top of my head. And then we've lost like the likes of sort of like Ryan Tunnicliffe in centre midfield, and just sort of cleared out some of these sort of 30-year-old sort of around age midfielders and defenders we didn't really need. Sort of gone in to replace them, I suppose. There's no massive outgoings. We've not lost like a star player or anything like that. So I think the squad is stronger. There is still a problem though, is that we sort of do need an attacking 8/10.
Some of your forums and your Twitter.
We do. We need an attacking 8/10. And without that, there is the possibility that the front three are going to be choked a little bit of supply. I absolutely love Joe Morrell, Marlon Pack, Tom Lowry, and then we just added Terry Devlin in. These are all great centre midfielders, okay? But we haven't really got a ball-carrying, attacking 8 or 10. So I'm a little bit worried that teams who sit back a bit deep, play a block and stuff, are we going to be able to open them up? Yeah. Or is it going to be more of those dreaded 1-1 draws, which we were basically famous for at the end of last season?
You're sick and tired of it, I'm sure. Is there anyone sort of in the pipeline, that have been rumoured on Twitter, or, your reporters have said have you identified anyone that could fill that role for you?
There's been a little bit of chat about it, but to be honest, until it happens, we'll leave it at that. But I think it's a couple of days. I think Messina mentioned that maybe someone can come in by the weekend. They seem to be quite set that they know what they're on about. And to be fair to them, they've gone out to some quite, off the book record sort of places for us. So you look at, obviously went to Northern Ireland, mentioned that. We've got a player called Yangi, and he's coming from Western Sydney. So they've gone out and scouted Australia. So I think what I'm actually most encouraged about at the moment is just that process.
The
processes seem to be in place as such.
That makes sense.
But it's a bit unknown.
No, I think I've got a major Shrewsbury fan, and it's, not to the same extent as those guys, but, it's a lot of signings coming in. And I think, I remember we had it in a couple of seasons ago where you get these players and you do have to hope that, the chemistry's there and the relationships do get built up. Otherwise, it can quickly turn bad. I don't think that necessarily will happen with you guys because you've got a lot of quality in there, but, have you got any concerns about that, or are most Pompey fans expecting, a real push for promotion? I'm sure you're probably tired of that question every year. It probably gets levelled at you, but that is the level that Pompey are at. So,
I think the fan base is, as always, a little bit split on the opinion. I think the one thing is we haven't gone out and bought in any sort of Regan Poole, maybe you could say, is one of those top line players that's a bit more of a marquee signing. Kind of expected him to go to the Championship. But apart from that, there aren't too many sort of, they've signed him sort of players.
Signings, is it?
So I think some fans are like, we've just gone out and bought 12 middle of the road, options. I don't think that's the case, looking at the numbers and looking at what they've done. But only time will tell, I suppose. And again, until we get that creative player, maybe we could be a bit toothless. That does worry me.
Yeah, no, I get those concerns, but personally, I think you do have enough in those attacking positions to sort of make that work. So yeah, if we move on to Saturday's game, and I hope you'll be able to offer us a bit of insight into what sort of team the Gas can expect to come up against. So yeah, first up, what sort of style of play? I know you've already touched on it a little bit, and what formation
Mm.
would you expect Mourinho to line up with on that opening day?
Yeah, so basically it's going to be quite set, to be honest. We're going to be looking at a 4-3-3. As a starting position. Will Norris will play in goal, coming from Burnley. He played it for Peterborough last season, so people will notice that Gaffey did it in the playoffs as well. But seems fairly solid. A bit of concerns about his kicking. And then you look at, we're going to have Joe Rafferty at right back. He's class for us. It's a bit open who starts at centre back, but I think, I mean, you've got Regan Poole, Riley Towler, Connor Shaughnessy, Sean Raggett. I'm thinking Regan Poole will definitely start, and then we'll see who he pairs him with. Maybe Shaughnessy's a bit taller. Regan Poole's not that tall. I've got a feeling he probably go with him for that reason. And then at left back, he's got the options of Sparks or Ogilvie. I think he'll go Connor Ogilvie. He's the more
Yeah.
experienced player. He seems to be starting in pre-season more. So I think that'll be the back four. And then in midfield, it'd be interesting to see if he tries to change it up from what's happened before. But I think he'll stick with the formation of Marlon Pack in the three, sitting a bit deeper.
Yeah.
He's been given the captain's armband as well. He's a local lad, Pompey boy, the only man who negotiates season tickets for his mates in his contract. And then he goes out and gets Joe Morel. Well, probably goes out. So Marlon Pack, and then probably Joe Morel and Tom Lowry a bit further forward. So we'll have that. And then at the front, I reckon we'll probably go Colby Bishop in the centre. I would assume he's going to go Gavin White and Anthony Scully at right and left. And then when we get the ball, as I said, we'll be looking to get the ball out the back, try and play the ball out the back, and Marlon Pack will try and play the playmaker role from deep. Then the fullbacks will try and get forward, I suppose, and support the front three in that sense, to provide a little bit of whip, a bit of overlap, etc. And then we should probably press out of possession, especially at home. So if we're playing well, especially, I think you'll see you won't get too much time on the ball at the back. We will try and press you when you get the ball, especially if you try and play the ball out the back. If Barton's going to get the ball and play it, short defense and play it through the thirds, I think you'll find that we should be pressing in numbers. We tend to press with shape as well. So we'll see if that happens or not. But if we're playing well, we try and play out the back with the ball, retain possession, and get the ball forward. We do look a bit more of a threat on the counter-attack. It would be nice if a team does try and play up against us and gives us a bit more space. So we have a bit more pace about us this season. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell, effectively.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think you might get your wish there, because Joey Barton's quite steadfast on the fact that he doesn't want to go to these big places, the bigger teams, and sit back. He does actually want to go out there and play his game, which is definitely, he wants to have it possession based. He wants to dictate the game. So that concerns me a little bit that you say one of your strengths is pressing from the front. We've got quite a young back line actually, who do like to knock it around a bit, but especially early in pre-season, not pre-season, but early in the season, they could be prone to a few errors. But
I mean, it's quite difficult to say because a lot of these players haven't played for us. So, but I expect when we're playing well is when we're on the front foot. So I expect them to at least start the season at home pressing. But we'll wait and see, because I haven't seen the likes enough of, say, people like White and Scully. Are they going to close down with Bishop or not? So we'll wait and see. But that's generally Mourinho's philosophy of press, get the ball back and turn it over.
That bodes well then. It should be an entertaining game at least. You're not going to have someone coming there sitting behind the ball and you just plugging away for 90 minutes. But you touched on some of your potential strengths there. Just a penultimate question: if you were Joey Barton and his coaching team, and you were sort of trying to identify a weakness within that Pompey side, I know you said about the lack of number 10, which can potentially be a weakness, but that's more on the attacking side of things. Is there any sort of player or something that happens within your system where you would identify and think, that could be somewhere to target?
I think last season we had a real problem with centre backs being too slow, so people could play the ball over the top against us. I do still think that you can get a bit of joy with someone like Collins getting in behind us as well. Luke Thomas, I really rate as well. I think he's a great signing coming in as well. I think directly running, if Conor Ogilvie, for instance, starts running at Ogilvie, he's not the quickest on the left-hand side. You might get a bit of joy down that wing as well. So yeah, I think for us as well, it's just literally about you getting hit on the counter quite a lot. If we're too complacent in the middle, we have been just like, as I said, that lack of a 10, it has a big effect, because what happens is that they're so in line together, and so it becomes quite flat. So the ball gets passed sideways a lot. And then after a while, if it's a little bit aimless, it's quite easy to pick the ball off us and attack us for speed with numbers.
Yeah.
So I feel like Barton will have a look at that, and the likes of Collins and Thomas, etc., to really pounce on the ball when you do get a break in that sense, and just try and hit us with pace.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought as well. We've got that pace up front, so we're going to try and utilise it. Just in the midfield, I'm not an expert on your midfield, and to be fair, I don't really know the attributes of Morel, but I know that Pack's a little bit older. He's a little bit slower, more of a technical player on the ball. What is it, a slow midfield, or has Morel, and I think you mentioned Devlin, or I can't remember who the other one was, but is there enough sort of energy in that midfield, so it's not flat?
Joe Morel's like, yeah, it's not that it's not energetic. So Joe Morel's an energetic sort of box to box sort of midfielder without a real goal threat, I'd say. Obviously he plays for Wales quite a lot, so people might see him play in the Euros as well. He's a feisty midfielder who likes to put a good tackle in, but also likes to get the ball rolling. Tom Lowry, who's the player who's played for Crewe, who's been for us for last season, had some injury issues. So the three of them haven't played a lot together in that sense.
Sure.
But he likes to get the ball ticking. Both of those two are pass, move, get the ball moving sort of midfielders. They're both quite small. And there is a bit of a worry that they could be bullied off the ball. I don't think that's the case. I think that's to some level a bit of an old school football fan.
Yeah, it's a bit of a myth, isn't it?
Yeah, because they're both very tenacious. I mean, Joe Morel's got an issue of getting sent off for various tackles and that kind of thing. He plays with a real bite, a real edge. I think it's just, do we have that quality to open people up behind Bishop?
Yeah,
both of them are good midfielders, good passers, etc. But can they actually play that one final ball which is going to open up a team? And I think that's sort of like to be seen.
Yeah, again, I mean, that'll be a good battle, because we've got Sam Finley in there, who is pretty much as tenacious as you can get, and so yeah, I think that'll be a really good battle. And then finally, mate, if I could just get your prediction for the game.
I'm going to go 2-0 Pompey, because I'm trying to be positive. It's the start of the season.
Yeah, you got to be positive, haven't you?
I haven't been worn down by the 1-1 draw. I would not be surprised to see it. I would not be surprised to see us come out away with a draw at the start of the season, and it's been quite a slow start. However, we have a really difficult September coming up, a really difficult run of fixtures across September. I can't remember. I think we've got Derby, Wigan, Barnsley, or 4 teams. I think it's Peterborough's the 4th team, all in 1 month.
That is tough.
And this month is looking quite favourable in comparison. So the team will be aware of that, and they'll want to start the season all guns blazing going into those fixtures, I suppose. So it'll be all drama if Pompey haven't won many games by the end of this month, and then we have to run that tight, that really horrible month of September. I'm telling you, Pompey Twitter, or whatever it's called now, is not going to be the safest of places, really.
Oh yeah, I mean, not to sound mean here, but I hope I can pound your misery on the first day. But for me, I'm not sure which way it'll go. I think there's a lot of optimism from Gasheads going into this. We've got a shocking record actually at Fratton Park and on the opening day of the season. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I think I would probably go for a 2-1 victory. But I think whatever happens, I'm confident that there will be goals in this game. You've got a very potent striker, obviously, in Colby Bishop. Like you said, your wide players who are coming in a little bit, they're very good as well. And then, for me personally, I think we've got some of the best attackers in the division. So it should be a very exciting game, mate.
Yeah. Where do you reckon Rovers are going to come this season? Are you confident? I've got you finishing 9th if you're interested.
9th? Yeah, and I think I've seen a lot of people doing that, because, I think our signings have been shrewd, going out there and getting James Wilson from, the champions. We brought in Giovanni Brown, which regardless of the sort of, the off-field issues, which I have spoken about previously. But
He's a good player.
he's a
We know
quality
about him
player.
because we were touted to sign him in January before it happened. So
Yeah,
Pompey fans watching this will know
yeah,
how good he is. Effectively.
exactly. And then the likes of Luke Thomas. We've still got Scott Sinclair in there, and then we've just recently been linked with Connor Taylor. I don't know if you're aware of him. He played for us in our promotion season in League Two. He's currently at Stoke, but he's an excellent centre back. So if we can get hold of him. I think it's just been, it's been continuation really for Barton. He's, no matter what you say about him, he has his style, and it certainly appeals to certain players, and he does galvanise his team. So for me, I'd take ninth all day. Maybe a late playoff push. I think a lot of people said this year League One is slightly easier than the last couple of years, and whilst that's true, we are still a relatively new and smaller club in the division. So I think probably we'll finish somewhere between 12th to 8th.
I'm all right then with ninth. I've not gone completely wild with it. With
No,
you
no,
lot.
exactly.
I think I've.
Sorry,
How
go on.
about us? Okay, so I put an optimistic third, but that's only because I wanted a playoff place, and the other boys went first because I host our podcast, and they went fifth and fourth.
Mhm.
So I was like, so I got pipped in at third. But I'll be honest, I'm going to say a playoff finish.
Yeah.
I think Bolton, Derby look really good for this season. Do like Bolton. I think
Yeah,
Derby
I like Bolton as well.
Derby under Paul Warne. He just knows how to get out this league as well. And then I think about other teams. Charlton, they're improving.
Yeah,
Blackpool always good in this league. So whilst it's sort of got easier in the sense that the top three heavyweight teams are out of the league,
there's
I
a few
think there's
below
still a
in
lot
there.
of everyone else has still got better to a certain level who's up there.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And there's always a few bolters in there. You know what I mean? You had Lincoln almost made a push of it last year, and then in previous seasons gone by, you've had others. So it should be interesting, mate. I think. Would you take that then? If I said to you now, I can guarantee you a playoff place, but you wouldn't get automatic. So you taking that at the start of the season?
yeah, as long as we win the playoffs, then yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's the caveat. That makes it nice and easy for you.
yeah, such a politician answer, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think playoffs is promotions. Should be the ambition for us this season.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, a playoff place would be a monumental improvement on the season. So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with the playoff place, I suppose, at this stage of the season, because then you're in the lottery at least.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be in it,
Yeah,
haven't you? So
missing the playoffs is not really acceptable, in my opinion. That's where I am.
yeah, I think I'd be inclined to agree. To be honest with that, the signings you've made. But yeah, we'll. I can't remember when our reverse fixture is back at the Memorial Stadium, but it'll be great to get you back on that. And
Love to. I like Bristol. Great night out.
yeah,
Yeah. I like, I'll just go out on one in Stokes Croft with the boys and have a
uh,
right laugh.
yeah, you know what you're doing, don't you, mate?
Yeah. Yep.
That's perfect. All right, well, yeah, like I said, mate, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah.
If there's any Pompey fans watching this, I'm sure you're already aware of the PO4cast, but I'll leave all the links in the description below. And I'll catch you guys later. Thank you very much, Hugh, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it, Fred.
Cheers. Bye.